While the mainstream media fixates on this Stormy Daniels scandal and gives it endless coverage and other stupid stories about Donald Trump that just aren't necessarily important and impact our lives, there's a real scandal going on in the White House that we're not hearing much about. And this scandal is multiple policies that Donald Trump's administration is pushing that I don't think it's hyperbolic to say is slowly killing us. And the way he's killing Americans, it's being done in a multitude of ways across various policy changes. So according to Vox, the Trump administration is quietly dismantling the Affordable Care Act, taking a series of regulatory steps that will make it easier for insurance companies to sell plans that exclude patients with pre-existing conditions or don't cover basic services like maternity care, mental health treatment, and prescription drugs. So how specifically is he doing this? Well, the Health and Human Services Department published new rules recently that widen access to short-term healthcare plans that are cheap and are intended for people that don't have access to full coverage and are in between jobs, for example. Now, at face value, these plans might seem like a great deal because they're cheap. They're like less than $100 a month in most cases. The problem is that since these are traditionally meant to be temporary healthcare plans, the regulations that were passed under the Affordable Care Act don't fully apply to these plans in particular. Quote, plans can deny people insurance based on their medical history, charge them higher premiums because of their pre-existing medical conditions, and craft skimpy benefits packages that will appeal mostly to young and healthy people. Now, again, the reason why these plans in particular are exempt from Obamacare regulations is because they're temporary. In most cases, you have them for a couple of months and then you move on to a more permanent health plan. But what Donald Trump is doing is he's trying to make it so that way these plans become more widely available and they last longer, when that's not what these were intended to do. So people who are well might think that this is a great idea and they'll buy it and think that they have health insurance, but the minute they get sick, they're going to realize that they're getting ripped off because this isn't meant to be a long-term plan. And people who are sick, they're not going to be able to get on these plans, because these plans are able to deny people healthcare coverage if they have pre-existing conditions. Now, under Obama, people could only keep these types of plans for 90 days, but Trump is not only trying to make them more widely available to consumers, but he's actually extending the duration that individuals are able to keep these plans to a year, and even considering extending them more than that. But that's unacceptable. This is not healthcare. These were shitty temporary measures for people in between jobs that couldn't get access to a new healthcare plan. But Trump is trying to make this the new norm. So what's going to happen is that these insurance companies are going to make billions of dollars in profits selling lots of these plans because a lot of people will feel inclined to buy them because they'll think that they're covered. But in actuality, this will facilitate sick people dying because they can't get coverage because they're going to be denied it based on pre-existing conditions. And people who do buy these plans, I mean, you might be able to see your doctor with it, but if you need any substantial medical procedure, surgery, anything like that, it's not going to be covered under these plans. Again, these are temporary plans. They're not meant to be permanent, but Donald Trump is trying to move towards a system wherein these plans are in fact more common and more permanent. But that's not the only thing that Donald Trump is doing that is harmful to American citizens. As the AP reports, the Trump administration said Thursday it is rewriting Obama-era rules governing pollution from oil and gas operations and coal ash dumps, moves that opponents say will significantly weaken protections for human health and the environment. The changes proposed by the Environmental Protection Agency are the latest in a series of actions taken over the last year to roll back regulations opposed by the fossil fuel industry. The agency said the revisions would save electric utilities $100 million per year in compliance costs, while oil and gas operators would reap up to $16 million in benefits by 2035. So, in other words, water will be dirtier, the air will be polluted even more, and if these policy changes make you sick, good luck getting health insurance, because congratulations, now this sickness caused by deregulation, that's a pre-existing condition. Health insurance companies aren't going to want to give you insurance if they think you're sick and will cost them money. So he's not only changing conditions in the country with regard to regulation of the environment and water to basically facilitate more sickness in this country, but he's making it more difficult for you to get actual, real substantive coverage in the event you are sick. But that's still not all, because Vice President Mike Pence recently declared that legal abortions in the United States will end, quote, in our time. And look, I don't know the extent to which they're going to be successful at achieving this goal. I think it's going to be a huge task ahead of them if they really want to ban abortions, but they are restricting access to abortion. That's what Trump's administration is doing, and it's not just Trump. Republicans are doing this at the state level as well. Now, what happens if we ban abortion in the United States? Well, that will not change the amount of abortions that are actually occurring. It'll just increase the amount of illegal, unsafe abortions that are occurring. Abortions that are unsafe because they're not being regulated by the federal government. And according to a recent study published, 69,000 women around the world die every single year due to unsafe abortions. And of those that survive these unsafe, illegal abortions, millions end up living with long-term health complications as a result. So banning abortion hurts women. And if you ban abortion in the United States, obviously that's going to hurt women. So these are things that Donald Trump's administration is doing, or at least trying to do. They are making healthcare more difficult to achieve and making shittier healthcare options more widely available, simultaneously as they deregulate the oil and gas industry, allow coal companies to pollute water. These are all policies that will slowly kill American citizens. It might not be quick, but he's making people sicker. He's making access to healthcare more difficult to come by. When I say healthcare, I mean real healthcare. If you have one of these $90 plans, that's not real healthcare. Because if you have a medical emergency, it's not going to be covered. So you don't have healthcare. You might feel like you have healthcare. You might feel protected, but in actuality, you're not protected. So these are the things that Donald Trump is doing that are the real scandals, in my opinion. Not this Stormy Daniels bullshit. Yes, that speaks to Donald Trump's character. He claims to be an evangelical all of a sudden, but we all know he's a hypocrite. But these are the real things. The policies Donald Trump is doing that couldn't be more harmful to the American citizens. And it's not just like he's only hurting Americans. I mean, he's waging an illegal drone war that he ramped up by 400% in numerous countries, 8 countries now, including Niger. Trump is absolutely a menace.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.